way to ensure that volunteers are supported and to save time as a staff member is to create a system where volunteers work together and support each other. This can work especially well for new volunteers or volunteers that need extra help.
It's about working collaboratively. It's about our volunteers getting together and being able to learn from each other.
It's also important to offer an ongoing challenge, particularly for those volunteers that really stand out. You might also find that they can get jobs done that you don't have the time or resources for.
My way of offering an ongoing challenge to volunteers who are showing real promise is to give them something big and bold enough that they can really take charge of it themselves. So it's about giving volunteers something autonomous, but giving them really clear values of what you want them to achieve. So it's not telling them what to do, but it's giving them the values that we want to attain to and saying, I want you to find the way there. I want you to find the path of how we're going to get to this goal. That's up to you.
So, you've successfully integrated volunteers into your organisation. Realistically, a volunteer, especially a young volunteer, won't stay around forever. To ensure that a volunteer project doesn't fall flat if a volunteer leaves, and so that you can continue to integrate volunteers into your organisation, there's a few steps that you can take. First, identify when a volunteer is ready to leave the organisation.
I mean, the ideal situation is that a volunteer identifies that themselves, that they leave your organisation because they've got maybe an offer of employment in the field that they're volunteering in, which is, that's the ideal situation, that they have identified that now I've contributed as much as I think I can contribute in this role, and it's time for me to go on.
So that you're prepared when a volunteer leaves, it's important that you can pass on their knowledge to any new volunteers.
I think documentation is the most obvious thing that needs to happen. You need to make sure that I always encourage volunteers and staff members as well, even when they start their position, to always be thinking about the way they want to finish that position as well, and always be thinking about what they're going to be handing on. So I think staff members will often work with volunteers on creating position descriptions and writing down what they're actually doing in their role and making sure that they're keeping track of what they're doing so that there is some sort of handover document that you can have at the end of it.
Integrating volunteers into your organisation can be a rewarding experience for both the volunteer and the staff.
Obviously when you're hiring volunteers, you're hiring them to fill a certain position or to undertake a certain role and help you out with things that you can't do by yourself. But with that, they bring an enthusiasm, because volunteers only come to your organisation not because they have to, because they actually want to be there, because they believe in what you're doing and because they're actually interested in the line of work or the cause or whatever it may be that draws them to your organisation. And I think that because of that, and because they're there because they want to be there, they bring an enthusiasm and they bring a lot of motivation and excitement to the organisation. And that's infectious. That rubs off on staff, it rubs off on other people who are working with your organisation all the time. And I think that's really, I find as a staff member who works with volunteers that it's a really infectious enthusiasm, and it makes you remember how great it is to be working in the position that you're working in.